Hi, I'm Dick Rauscher. Today we're going to be talking about the nugget Insights from the Wilderness entitled Pro-Future Means Learning to Embrace the Whole. So let me give you an outline of what the nugget's going to be talking about. Number one is the concept of choice. The universe has given humanity a gift that most of creation does not have, and that's the ability to make choices, to actually choose the future and create the future that we want to live in. So the first important point in today's nugget is the concept of choice. We have a choice that we can make on what kind of future we're going to create for ourselves and the future that we want to live. The second point that I make in the article is the concept that if we're going to be pro-future, okay, then we have to be willing to embrace sustainability. This is not a good idea. This is not a great philosophy. This is absolute reality. With 7 billion people on the planet, and we're headed for 9 billion people, if we don't live sustainably, and we're light years from it right now, but this has got to be one of our goals. If we want to be pro-future, we got to be pro-sustainability. No, we don't have an option, unfortunately. We have to move from this concept, what I call primitive ego thinking, of me, I, mine, and we have to begin to embrace a much larger view of the world, and that means we have to start thinking about we-ness. If we continue to use kind of a narcissistic, greed-based self-focus on me and mine, then we will never achieve sustainability. So if we want a sustainable future, in other words, we want to be pro-future, then we have to learn to start thinking in these terms. And that's pretty challenging. I'll go into it a little bit in the article. And the reason is that we are going to have to be willing to give up some of what we have and begin sharing it with third world nations and less privileged people who are not living in the Western world. Again, this is not a good idea. This is a necessity. Why? Because history has shown us, and history is clear, empire after empire after empire has come and gone in human civilization. And why did they all collapse? Because they eventually got to the point where they were so successful that there was the huge financial and power inequality between those in the top 5-10%, or as we would be saying today, 1%, and the bottom 10% or 5%. When people who are displaced or ignored in a culture, when they get to a point where they become resentful of this inequality, then the cancer inside a culture or an empire begins to fester, okay? And eventually the empire will collapse. A lot of people think the United States is a modern empire that we couldn't possibly collapse. But if we look at some of the upheavals that are going on in our cities right now, I think we get a pretty good idea of what it could look like if people actually lost hope in this country. And I think we're in danger of that happening. So history is clear. We cannot allow the inequality, and inequality comes out of me thinking, not we thinking, and it's not sustainable. The next point we make is that nature is not an it. Nature is a living system. And all of the biologists today are teaching us in kind of the concept of what I call the big picture history of the universe. They're teaching us that nature is based on cooperation, and it's based on living systems learning how to cooperate and support one another. Again, everything points back to this we approach. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is the concept in the article that if we're going to be pro-future, then we don't have a choice. A pro-future orientation is going to be sustainable. It's going to require exercising choice. It's going to mean that we have to think in we terms. It means we have to get rid of financial and power inequality. It means we have to start living in right relationship with this living system called nature, okay? And bottom line, it means that we have to begin to see the whole. Our future has to be on the whole. And very simply, what does that mean? It means whole are all of the other creatures that are living on the earth that we're extinguishing at an alarming rate. It means protecting our trees. It means protecting our soils. We're doing monoculture farming. That's not sustainable. It means paying attention to our glaciers. It means paying attention to our oceans. And most importantly, it means understanding that we are part of a 14.8 billion year experiment called our universe. And history of the universe is saying we had best learn how to cooperate with all of the other aspects of our planet, in this case, or we are going to be working against evolution and against nature. And I think it's pretty clear if we're going to have a fight with nature, we're probably going to lose that fight. I think that's pretty clear. So have a great week. Live sustainably. Focus on we and the whole, and we'll see you down the road.